One of the key questions to be answered is, who will own the new local radio services? Applications have been received from a wide range of interest, some business, others with a broader community base. But for the purely commercial operator, radio is a commodity, and running a radio service is a business, an investment to make money. And they found a formula to do it.
In the past, what has certainly made for successful radio has been music. I suppose a lot of people would refer to it as wall-to-wall music. And this is what the people, they have, in all the surveys, certainly that we have conducted, and I think that our competitors in independent radio have, or pirate radio, I should possibly prefer to call it, have conducted. The people have come out from the Nova days, Sunshine days, Super Q days, and they have said they want music, music, music.
No, but if I went into Dublin, I might...
On the other hand, many applicants for local radio want to run a community service where, apart from profit, there are other considerations.
Here in Bray, do you get everything that you want here?
Community radio is radio that's run and owned by the people of a community, either a geographic community or a community of interest. BLB has served the Bray community since 1979. It works with volunteers. Volunteers run the station with a small minimum paid staff who are responsible for the administration of the station. It involves people presenting their own programs, community groups and organisations, and individuals and volunteers presenting programs as well, and that's how it survives.
But from now until 12, it's bright and breezy.
But whether community-based or commercial, all new local radio stations must be self-financing, and applicants for contracts when presenting their programme profile to the Commission must do so in terms of the trade-off between general interest, culture content and advertising attractiveness. Up to now, pirates have run more or less wall-to-wall music, and that's been a successful formula. But now with the requirement to provide 20% of news and current affairs and to cater for a wide range of tastes, including those of minority interest, there are new challenges for those who believe in the old formula.
I think what the government are trying to do, what they intend doing, is very difficult. It's akin to McDonald's coming in here tomorrow and being asked to put a 20% content of Irish stew on their menu, you know, with a view to getting a franchise. I don't think they'd come. Like, we're being asked to put something on which the people have said they do not want. It's an imposition on the will of the people to some extent.
If a station is required to be all things to all men and come up with a program mix that's going to satisfy both the large demographics and the small minority interests, it's doomed for failure.
But what of the role of the Commission?
I hope they spend a lot of time studying the real world out there of broadcasting, and that they're not going to be influenced to an unfair degree by the lobby for culture, for minority interests, etc., because they are really a no-go in the pure commercial world of broadcasting.
How do you see the future for RTE Radio? I think we're going to have a very difficult time. I've said that, but I'm also very confident that we're going to survive the commercial competition. I think it's going to be very good for us. I think it has already forced us to make changes in radio programming and in structures and in the way in which we operate here, which probably wouldn't have been made if this threat of competition didn't exist. I think there is going to be an impact on our program making because the revenue is going to be adversely affected. There's no doubt that we're going to have less money to make programs with in the future. But I am a great believer in being pushed to the pin of my collar, and I think people in RTE in particular come into their own when they're under stress and they're forced to fight against the odds. And I'm very confident that we will be a very tough competitor for the commercial operators.
The Commission has announced 25 local radio stations, but will they survive financially? Is the advertising revenue there to support them?
The best estimate for 1988 would be that the total spend on radio advertising in Ireland, that's media spend, would be about £20 million.
And how do you see that fragment when all of these new services come online?
At the present moment in time, the bulk of that spend, of course, is directly related to RTE Radio 1 and 2, with an estimated, well, as far as we can judge, figure of about 4 to 5 million being spent on pirates during the year. Obviously, the breakup, of course, will be much more dramatic once the new stations come on air.
At first sight, it's clear that population is not the basis for the manner in which the country was divided into 25 local radio districts. To serve a population of over 1 million, Dublin will have 2 local radio stations. But County Cork, with 412,000 people, will effectively have 4 local radio stations. Cork County North, Cork City and Cork County are the new independent stations, but RTE's Cork Local Radio will also run from mid-morning till lunchtime and from mid-afternoon till after 6. And the situation in Tipperary is even more remarkable. Tipperary will sustain 3 local radio stations, Tipperary North, South East and South West, from a population base of 137,000. The ratios tell their own story. Dublin, 1 station per 500,000, Cork, 1 per 100,000, and Tipperary, 1 per 45,000.
Looking at the Cork situation, which is my own home city, I find it interesting that there are going to be 3 stations there along with Cork Local Radio, whereas in Dublin there's provision for just 2 stations. Just looking at the Cork situation, I think it will be very difficult for anybody to be financially viable in an area like Cork City and County, where there are 4 stations operating and competing against one another.
We don't exactly know what criteria the decision was made, but it doesn't seem to make much sense. Generally speaking, in any kind of demographic terms, the population base, for instance, to give Cork 4 stations and Galway 1. And because there's been no debate about how many stations each area should get, because the matter hasn't been considered publicly, we must assume that under the complex mechanism that the Act puts in place for the Commission to negotiate with the Minister the question of where the licences and contracts are to go, that some considerations crept into that which were political or which were not simply those which would have determined the matter had the Minister not had a role.
A lot will depend on, for example, the regional radio, how much additional income will be generated in terms of advertising at a local level. There is a possibility, in fact, that the pool as such at a local level will increase. Now, to what extent that this will increase to bring the level up to what is required, of course, we can't really say at this point in time. But we don't see, on a national basis, we don't see a dramatic extension in terms of spend over the coming years.
Whatever way the local radio franchises break down between commercial and community interests, the 20th of January is the deadline for applications, and licences are expected to be awarded from the end of February.